This is an easy one. You can all memorize it right now. It's meant to be a lifetime of learning. Yeah, that is a great question. You are an important little piece of this huge grand design.
Okay, we want to just open it up to a little Q&A, and I'm going to get us started. And I've got my phone because Paige is going to text me with questions from our Zoomers. But one of the questions that I think everybody has, I hear often is, if I have a young adult who is going through the temple for the first time, what advice would you offer?
Okay. 100%, and this is an easy one. You can all memorize it right now. It's a starting point, not a finish line. That is such a crucial distinction to make. If we treat this coming of age experience like the big finish line event, it almost can't help but be somehow confusing or disappointing or frustrating to feel like you go and have this big experience and you don't even get it. It's so much better to help them understand this is more like an orientation period on attending college. When you go to an orientation, you know you're not going to know your way around. You're not going to be given a test the day you get there. You're not going to have a million great friends and feel like you're the king of the campus or the queen of the campus, right? You're going knowing I'm going to be pretty uncomfortable for a couple of days. But before long, I'll know my way around. I'll know where my classes are. I'll just do my assignments one at a time and not think too far ahead and freak myself out. And you're taking these baby steps. That's a starting point mentality. And if we can help our young people understand that it's a starting point, not a finish line, that's a game changer. Not only that, that actually applies every day of our life. Like, that's the gospel of Jesus Christ. Tomorrow when you wake up, treat it as a starting point, not a finish line. Be a little bit gentler and kinder with yourself. And know that as long as you keep turning to the Lord, it's all good. You're going to be okay.
Okay, what other questions do you have? Yeah, right there.
Just to kind of jump on that point, what tips would you give to us in teaching like our young women? I mean, maybe the same thing, but is there something more for that age level?
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat it for Zoom, but the question is, what tips do you have specifically for young women?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the same applies. But as I think you're all aware, we've shifted so much in our counsel about when we receive our endowment. And for me personally, I think this has been an enormous gift for women to detangle it a bit from marriage or from serving a mission. And that applies for the young men as well. There's so much encouragement to, once you meet kind of, I think there are 5 basic guidelines. You have to have graduated from high school, you need to be 18, you need to have been a member of the church for a year, and then of course you need to be worthy of a temple recommend. You need to be sure that you're pointed in the right direction and have had some conversations with your bishop about making sure your maturity level is ready for that. You're encouraged to go. And I think separating it from any other relationship to let it be deeply personal first and foremost, really prioritizing your relationship with the Lord ahead of your relationship with any other human. Ideally, you're not doing it to please your parents. You're not doing it because you have to go on a mission. You feel like it's kind of required of you. You're going because you want to. And for women especially, it's not something connected 100% to a spouse that may get thorny down the road if hard things happen, right? So I think that's helpful. Yeah.
Any others? Oh, right back there.
What are some of your tips with people who may have to go to the temple and it doesn't sit necessarily well with them at their temple experience? Was it exactly what they thought it was going to be or how it was going to be? I know when I went through my divorce, going to the temple was a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It was a hard thing to kind of experience. What are some tips or ideas when those people, they just don't have experience they're looking for?
That's a great question. That's so common. So what advice do you have for somebody who they go through the first time or even again and it's not a great experience for them?
Changes.
Should we switch places?
Yeah, that is a great question. And of course, part of that is hopefully you can preemptively get them pointed in the right direction if it's a young person or a close friend or loved one, so they're a little bit more prepared mentally for the experience. And of course, we can talk about so much more now than we were used to, kind of guided away from talking about. But in my experience, especially with all the young people I work with, the initiatory seems to be particularly powerful, right? I think most of us we see a lot of heads nodding with that. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that initial portion of receiving your endowment or the proxy work that you can return to do. If you're unfamiliar with that, you might, once you've received your own endowment, you can go back again and just do that. It takes about 7 or 8 minutes. And a presentation of the endowment and what we call a session takes about, depending on the month and President Nelson, an hour and 25 minutes, an hour and 30 maybe, right? We've trimmed a little bit there too. That's a huge difference. An hour and a half is a lot to absorb and take in, but 7 or 8 minutes is a little bit more digestible. And especially for women, I think almost without exception, women love the blessings they're promised during the initiatory portion of the endowment. And to hear those encouraging, hopeful phrases and words and ideas over and over and over again is so powerful. So I have frequently recommended to young people who've maybe already received their own endowment and aren't quite sure and trying to figure it out, I say, for a couple of months, why don't you just do initiatory? And let's just see. Come back and talk to me in a month. Let's just think about that. Just let those blessings wash over you. And I've found that that is helpful for a lot of people. So that's one idea.
Mindy, you teach a BYU, you teach a Temple, you call it Temple Plus, to a stake at BYU.
Yeah.
What are the most common questions or concerns that you hear?
Yeah, they have a lot, right? Of course, things related to the wearing of the sacred garment are really concerning and bring up a lot of questions. I think in terms of that topic, it's really helpful to build with the basics first and create, like in our class, we meet over the course of a semester. We have 10 to 12 lessons. And we don't even start talking about the sacred temple garment until about lesson 9, because I find that it takes a certain degree of rapport and trust for them to appreciate that we're really coming at this focused on love. And by the time we get to that idea, they see it as such a gift. And that's a huge shift in their perspective. So that's one. They hear things from chatter, of course, online, social media, from their friends, from their older friends who maybe haven't had great experiences, and those things can be really concerning to them. One recommendation I often give is if you really have some questions about, say, a phrase or an idea, to go to the church website, to the General Conference page, and then, and only there, search that phrase. So many of the ideas that they have questions about have been discussed in General Conference and will come up there, and it can get you pointed towards some helpful insights about those ideas. Things, for instance, here's a phrase that we discuss often, something that Elder Christofferson once used this phrase in a talk about the blood and sins of this generation. If you see that in an address by an apostle, you can have a discussion about what you think that phrase means, and that's helpful. Things about names are also really concerning to young people. They want to understand that better. So we actually finished the whole semester with a discussion about the power of names, particularly the name of Jesus Christ. And we try to get really into some deep and expansive thoughts about layers of identity, how you have several names, and the older you get, you acquire additional names. About 5 years ago, I added my favorite name of all time, Grandma, right? That's a layer of identity. And I think that helps them kind of hold that idea and leave room for it to grow over time. And that's really the big thing. It's meant to be a lifetime of learning. You shouldn't be able to reason it all out, in a few months or a few weeks or your second or third visit. It's meant to be really rich enough to sustain you for the rest of your life, to have you wondering in the deepest sense of the word wonder, like filled with awe, awesome wonder.
Okay, we've got a question from somebody joining us by Zoom. Are there any meditation-related exercises or tips that can amplify the temple experience?
That's a great one. Based on that idea, I was just talking about wonder and awe. This is something that I've been really diving into and hope to have this be my new topic of study for a couple of years, is the idea of wonder and awe, and particularly how beginning with a presentation of the creation is an invitation into a mental state of wonder, and how powerful that is. To give just a small example of that, if you think of, I don't have this written down, Amulek? No, not Amulek. Ammon, talking to King Lamoni about when he's cut off the arms and all that's happened, and then the king's finally ready to have the conversation with him. We have this great description that the first thing he does is start with the creation. He starts with this narrative of the earth being created, the wonder of the diversity of the fish and the animals, and all these elements of creation that just open your mind to awesome beauty. And when our mind opens that way, it gets us into such a receptive frame of mind that lets new, bigger ideas sink in. A lot of social scientists who study awe, and this is now a great big field of study, have found that when you can get your mind into a state of awe, you go from feeling like a normal self in an image to what they call small self or vanishing self. And that's significant because what it lets you see is that you are an important little piece of this huge grand design. It's like Elder Uchtdorf said in his beautiful talk about You Matter to Him, the amazing paradox, the wonder of God, that He knows the whole cosmos and you are like a speck in it, but He loves and knows you. Like, that's the sense of awe and wonder. So I think a lot of us have maybe treated the first little portion of the presentation of the endowment as time to quick rest a little bit and tune out momentarily. Don't do that. I think that's actually the most pivotal period, because it is a meditative experience to open your mind to bigger ideas. And then just sink into it. Land on a word or a phrase that you just want to simmer over for the next hour. And if that's what you get, yay, that's excellent. Like, you can go again and take another word or phrase. So take your time.
We're grateful that you made this time to be with us. Thanks, Mindy.